You're good to go.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Hi there. This is for Chapter 7, talking points for Chapter 7, the retail locations. In retailing, it is often said that the three most important things are location, location, location. However, the word location means different things to different retailers. For instance, if you're a discount retailer, it might mean that you want to be located in an area where there's high traffic and easy access. For instance, McDonald's would like to be located in an area which has high volume of traffic. People can come in easily and go out easily. But if you're a sit-down fancy restaurant, for them a location might be completely different. They do not want to be located in high traffic areas. They very likely want to be located in an area that is very exclusive, very isolated, because they're targeting a very different group of customers. So keep that in mind, that when you talk about location, it means different things to different types of retailers. In this chapter, we'll talk about the different types of locations, and a retailer has the option of choosing either one depending entirely on its strategy and the target market it wants to attract. There are three basic types of locations: the planned, the unplanned, and the non-traditional location. The unplanned location is basically a location which does not have any centralized management and does not have any centralized plan for the future development of that particular area. And it includes the following: freestanding or isolated sites, where basically you'll find retailers that are pretty large or have the capability of attracting customers on their own merit based on their own offerings. Typically big box stores are located in isolated locations, and once they are successful, it is very likely that other retailers will spring up next to them. But they have the capability of attracting customers all by themselves and do not rely on others. In the unplanned location, you have the freestanding isolated location, as I talked about, or the urban location, which is a central business district. Typically downtown area locations where you may have a retailer established shop right on the first floor of a building, and then if it is successful, you may have other retailers come there, or a restaurant might set up its restaurant in the first floor of a building, and after it's successful, other retailers might come up. If you look at the downtown area in Pueblo, you might be able to see that. If you look at the downtown area in Denver, you probably see that as an example. The central business district, which is the downtown location, you also have the inner city. Exactly the same phenomenon. It's just that the inner city might be a little bit more poorer and may have more residential buildings as opposed to businesses, or the gentrified residential areas that are typically inner cities which were going downhill, but because more upscale people have started moving in, have become much more popular and much more in demand and become much more upscale. And then the main street in smaller cities. If you look at Pueblo Boulevard, or if you look at Highway 50, you may regard that as main streets in cities, or even Academy Boulevard in Colorado Springs. The planned locations are typically shopping centers, and they have centralized management and very long-term plans specifically for the type of stores that will be located there, and other expansions as far as that area is concerned. And so you may have the planned shopping centers based on convenience, based on the neighborhood, and the community shopping centers, power centers that typically contain big box stores, enclosed shopping malls, like you may have the regional malls or the super regional malls, like Pueblo Mall may be considered a regional shopping mall for southeastern Colorado, where people from as far as Kansas might come and shop. People from southwest part of Colorado might also come and shop. And then you have super regional malls. You may look at Park Meadows up in Denver as some sort of a super regional mall, where it attracts people from distant areas as far as Pueblo, and maybe even as far as remote areas in Wyoming. You may also have lifestyle centers all under the planned locations, which are basically open air with specialty stores, restaurants, and entertainment to project a certain lifestyle for its target market. You have mixed use development, which typically will have retail stores, offices, residential buildings, hotels, and other types. And it does not have any theme. It's just that these types are emerging in different parts of the country for mixed use purposes. You also have outlet centers that contain manufacturers or retailers' outlets. They will also have restaurants. Some of them have entertainment. Again, they all seem to have retail presence of different retailers and manufacturers. You can also have theme or festival centers that focus on a certain theme or a certain festival, and you might see this in different areas in the country, and some of them are temporary based on what kind of festival happens at a different time of the year, or some of them might be permanent based on a certain theme in terms of the beach theme or skiing theme and things like that. You could also have multi-format developments, also referred to as omni-centers, that combines one or more of the above, and they may have deep discount stores along with large upscale stores that attract a large number of customers, and they are there simply to defray the cost of management and development of that particular multi-format development. The non-traditionals, which is the last of the different types of retail locations, typically include the following: pop-up stores that are temporary in nature, and they may pop up depending entirely on the requirement for that particular time of the year. So pop-up stores you may have seen during the Chili Festival. They're very temporary. You could have pop-up stores during Christmas, you could have pop-up stores during Thanksgiving, you could have pop-up stores during Halloween. So they could be revolving around the idea of vacations or festival. You could also have store within a store, and if you look at Walmart, you have the salon, you have the eyeglass store, you have a bank, you have a photography store, and typically a large retailer will rent space to these smaller, and most of the times these small retailers are independent in nature and small businesses. But it is good for the retailer, the large retailer, which does not want to get into the business of offering hair salon or offering a bank, but it also gives opportunities to these small retailers where they can depend on the traffic created by these large retailers and enjoy the large customer base attracted by these large retailers. You can also have merchandise kiosks, which you typically find in malls, and you may have sunglass kiosks, you may have cell phone kiosks, you may have watch repair kiosks, and these are again typically small businesses that can take advantage of the customers in a mall, and they do not have to pay a high rent, but that also depends on the type of mall settings you have. And then finally you have airport locations. Airports, especially the busy airports, have stores inside airports, and these, depending on the type of the airport, are pretty pricey, and especially in Denver International Airport, there is a long waiting period to get a space in these airport locations, and they rely on the passengers from flights who might have some time to kill, and they might sell soft merchandise, all the way from newspapers to t-shirts and magazines, and you will also have restaurants in airport locations. Location and retail strategy have to complement each other. That is, that the selection of the location will depend on the strategy of the retailer. Again, as I mentioned earlier, that the type of retailer will determine the type of location. So a retailer has to pick a location that is consistent with its target market. That is, it should be able to attract the maximum number of customers from its target market and the location that it chooses. Is the retailer targeting customers based on convenience or shopping or comparison or specialty shopping, Again, the retailer location will have to depend on what type of retailer it is. If you look at a 7-Eleven, that is basically a convenience store. Again, it is around the corner in every neighborhood based on its convenience. Or you could have a shopping retailer which requires other stores in its vicinity, so customers can go and shop from one store to the other store and compare prices, compare designs and things like that. Or you could have a specialty shopping retailer where the retailer basically attracts a group of customers from a very specific target market. The retailer's location will depend on the density of the target market, which means how many people of its target market are in that particular location and the uniqueness of its offering. Again, the goal is to attract as many customers from its target market as possible. Otherwise, that location is not going to be good for the retailer. Societal and legal issues sometimes constrain the choice of location for a retailer based on the following. Example, urban sprawl. Most of these big cities have expanded, and a lot of these cities seem to be reluctant to allow retailers to come into their neighborhood. One, because they do not want the loss in property value. Very recently, maybe a few months ago, Walmart was denied access to one of these suburban areas in Denver because it would depress the property value in that particular area. Opposition to big box retailers, again, maybe the same logic, that retailers do not like big box stores, especially the mom and pop retailers, because they think that having a big box retailer may actually make them go bankrupt, or also depress the property value, and there might be a lot of noise, a lot of commotion in that particular area. The zoning issues, every city has zoning requirements. You cannot set up a retail store in a residential area. You cannot set up a certain kind of store in a particular area. You have to have zoning licenses and zoning permits to set up a type of retailer in a particular neighborhood. And there are also legal issues concerning the building codes, the use of signage, how far up can your signage go, or whether you can even have a signage and how big the signage can go. In some areas in Vail and Aspen, there is a moratorium on the sign, and Pueblo is probably coming close to that, where they might not allow signage above a certain dimension or above a certain height. So all of these requirements have to be met before a retailer chooses a particular location in a particular town. Thank you. That's the end of the talking points for Chapter 7.